Hello everybody, I make this day 10 of the lockdown and it's video 4 and we're going out to the upper and lower 6 today because there's quite a lot in this presentation that's relevant to both years. Apologies first of all for the radio silence of the last 2 or 3 days. We've been holding out for an announcement from Ofqual and from the government, but obviously there's nothing forthcoming. So in essence this is a holding message, and the message is, please hold on. In terms of the exams, we are expecting an announcement very, very soon. Well, that's probably not much help to you, and it's not a lot of help to us either. But as you may have noticed, the government is struggling to make sense of this, and perhaps that's, in fairness, not entirely expected, in that this is entirely uncharted waters for everybody. But it does offer an unexpected source of humour. I don't know if you've been following the nightly press conferences. And a couple of weeks ago, that probably seemed like a really good idea. They are now looking increasingly desperate in terms of content and desperate in terms of someone who's willing to present them. And I don't know if you saw last night's, but it looks ever more like some sort of game of pass the parcel between the politicians and the medicals. Anyway, it's important to get the laughs we can, and I suppose we should at the same time be making sure that we're laughing with rather than that. But these are confusing times. So back to the holding message then. So this bit's going out to the upper 6th. We do expect an announcement soon, by which we mean the end of this week. It could be today, and if it is today, then obviously we'll be back in touch with you straight away. Still at this stage, we don't know what that announcement is going to be, and a lot of schools and professional organisations have already made their call. We're not going to make that call yet. We're not going to do so until we have hard and fast advice from the government as to what this means for you in terms of further testing. And so our fast advice, our hard and fast advice is just to keep going. And again, I know that you want something from us and we want to be able to give it to you, but we can't do that just now. But let's just think about what that keep going means. Well, remember, these are officially the holidays, all right? So right now you would be working steadily and ticking over and building towards those exams. But let's be frank, as another day passes without formal guidance, the likelihood of further testing being admissible, that diminishes. It diminishes, it does not disappear, okay? It diminishes, but it doesn't disappear. And so what we're saying is keep going. Maintain that routine. Keep yourselves occupied. Keep your minds ticking over. And I'll be talking more about that a little while later. So don't go out and burn the books yet, okay? But at the same time, remember that this is officially holiday time. And so I would expect you to be working at a reasonable rate rather than anything excessive. We certainly wouldn't be in that sort of pre-exam acceleration right now. So my advice is, keep yourself ticking over. What does that mean? I'll explain in a second. So speaking now to the lower 6, when the term restarts, we have to assume that it's going to be virtual. But that aside, we are doing everything we can to ensure that that virtual provision of work is entirely commensurate with the quality and the breadth of the education you would normally receive were you actually at school. And so what you should be doing now, just like the upper 6, is keeping yourself ticking over. Well, what does that mean? Well, at some point, you're going to be tested on the work you've done this year. And so as good as any other advice I can give would be to consolidate any work that you've done this year. So lots and lots of revision, getting your notes in order, getting your files in order, making sure that when the summer term does hit us, that you are working effectively at the new material rather than having to consolidate the old material. So right now, I would be consolidating everything you've done to this year. I've been making sure my files are in place. I've been making sure that I was able to start the new summer term with everything else, all other ducks nicely lined up and ready to get going with whatever coming next. The other thing I'd be telling the lower 6 to do is to make that start making headway in your university application. Whatever happens, you're still going to be applying to university this term. So the window for university applications is going to open this term, and so we're going to be steering you towards that. All of your research obviously has to be virtual, and in that, everybody's in the same boat. But the good news is there's so much stuff out there for people who are making those inquiries. We've already introduced it to Indigo. And we've already suggested that you should get involved in the UCAS Hub, and I'll be linking off to both of those at the end of this website, but at the end of this presentation, sorry. And of course, you should also be looking at the university websites themselves. But in addition to that, there are all sorts of other things that are coming through because the universities are adjusting to this and they're shunting a lot of their marketing and advice online. One of these is a webinar that's coming up on the 8th of April by an organization called University Search, and we'll be linking off to that in the presentation, in the footnotes to this as well. But also look at the VLE. We're moving a lot of stuff on VLE. We're moving a lot of our information. Well, a lot of the information is already on the VLE, but we're making sure that it's all relevant now and that's pointing you in the right direction. Again, a lot of universities are shunting their stuff online. As we find that, we'll put it in the right place on the VLE, but that's really where you should be going through. That's the VLE, UCAS Hub, and Indigo, 3 massive resources that you should definitely be doing. And then there's this webinar on the 8th of April. All of this will be linked off in the footnotes, so just make sure you're up to speed with all of that. Okay, that's the lower sixth. Back to the upper sixth. Now, no matter what happens next term, whether there are further tests, further admissible tests, or whether you want to, start looking again at some of the grades that we're going to give you, the government has opened that window for exams in the autumn. More details on that pending. Whatever's happening, we will be making sure that we have a provision of education for you that's going to keep you occupied, engaged, and that will help you prepare for the next phase, whatever that is. I'm not going to go into the details right now. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but what you need to know is that this is currently being put together. It will be, again, largely virtual, well, entirely virtual, and it will cover academic stretch. It will cover you keeping your minds active in preparation for university. It will cover whatever assistance you need in terms of boosting the grades that you're going to get from us. There will be the opportunity to have further guidance and further studies towards any resits. Well, they won't be resits, but those autumn exams that are being offered by the government. And we'll also be helping you develop whatever skills it is that you're going to need as you go into that next phase, whether it's life skills or study skills or anything along those lines. We're putting together this package. We're not rushing into it because it needs to be right. And we do have a little bit of time to get that right. And we do have a little bit of time to get all of the resources we need in a place that is going to be accessible to you, that's going to be intelligible to you, and that's going to give you the things that you need. That will ensure that whatever the support and whatever help you need from us, and whenever and however you need it, we will be in a position to give that to you. So that is coming. That is coming. And obviously, once we know exactly where we are in terms of the government's provisioning or the government's expectations from us this term, then of course we'll get into production, or rather we will finalize the production for next term. So that's for the future. What should you be doing now? Well, again, officially these are the holidays, so the emphasis is really on taking over. But as you need no telling, I'm sure, these are not like any holidays you've ever had before, or indeed that anybody else has had ever before. And so we need to take a slightly different approach. And we've talked about this before, but again, I just need to reiterate it because it's so important. Maintain a routine. It's a struggle to maintain a routine, but it is important. As long as you have a basic outline and you can stick to that, as long as you can get up, do the things you need to do, and then know at some point that there's going to be some downtime coming, you need to hold fast to that routine. It's for your own sanity and for the sanity of the people that you are incarcerated with. Let's call an ugly thing by an ugly name. So get a routine, maintain that routine. Within that routine, get some exercise. The reason why, well, the two reasons why I'm dressed the way I am. The second is that I'm about to go and run around and do some stupid things in the garden that could possibly injure myself and amuse everybody else. But get some exercise. That's very, very, very important. We need to be burning off all of that energy, however you choose to do it. And of course, within the government guidelines, because there's plenty of those as well. The other thing I'd suggest is make yourself useful. Now, later today, I'm going to go out and we found a neglected patch of garden. We've dug it over and I'm going to plant some potatoes because, well, why not? You've got to be keeping yourself busy, and if in that busyness you can make yourself useful, then so much the better. And yesterday we cleared out a load of cupboards, which brings me to my choice of where today. back in the day, by which I mean the 1990s, you could predict with a fair degree of certainty what I would be wearing on any given day. So on a work day, it would be a suit. And if it wasn't work, then the chances are I'd be wearing a rugby shirt and a pair of jeans. Then I got married, and while the workwear has undergone perhaps a fairly slow and steady evolutionary change, the not workwear has been subject to a wholesale and more radical reform. The rugby shirts have gone. Well, not all of them. A few of them escaped the cull, and I found them when we were clearing out some cupboards. And in the interest of having something to talk about, I thought I'd share the few that escaped the cull with you. Because whatever it is, we need to keep talking. We need to find something new to talk about, because you're stuck in a house with people. And, if you're like me, I ran out of chat in about 2004. As anyone who's endured one of my lessons will tell you, the jokes get recycled at a rate that would embarrass Greta. But we need to have something to talk about. So I'm going to talk to you about this shirt. Now, this shirt is from SOAS, as you can possibly see. And it's from the 90s, which is why it's so big. Everything just seemed bigger in the 90s. Yes, so SOAS. Now, I wasn't at SOAS, but my brother was. And every now and again, I turned out for his 15. Largely because they were desperate. And also because I thought the shirt was, after all, pretty cool. This on the back. That is, I'm told, 15 in Thai. If it's not Chanatip, I'm sure you and others will be rushing to correct me on that. But I do hope that it isn't rude. And so this is my SOAS shirt, and I'll share another one with you next time. So that was my routine. My routine was get up, put on this silly shirt, talk to you guys about the silly shirt and about what you should be doing with your time, get some exercise, finish off clearing out the cupboards, and plant my potatoes. Now, you don't need to do all of that. You don't need to do some of that. But what you do please need to do is get a routine. Keep communication going. Keep communication. Keep talking to one another. Whatever it is you can find to talk about, be talking. Get some exercise and stay busy. Now, in terms of being busy, if you haven't already, perhaps you could give some thought to volunteering. I'm volunteering here in my village. I'm part of the local network that checks in on people and buys food if they need us to go and get some. You could perhaps do that. There are obviously more formal ways of volunteering. There are organizations for volunteering on farms. There are organizations for volunteering within the NHS. If it's safe for you to do so, and if you're in a position to do so, then why not have a look at that? I'm sure there are worse things you could be doing with your time. But, okay, I've wasted enough of your time already. I've got to go and get that exercise before the weather turns in. Message again from today: routine, exercise, communications, and generally, be nice to one another. And just remember that this too shall pass. And we're here to help you in any way, shape or form we can. And that's 13 and a half minutes of your time that you're not going to get back. If you've made it this far, that's fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Let me know if there's anything we can be doing to help. Tutors will be checking in. If you need them to, let me know, and I'll make sure tutors can check in with you, or just drop me an email. I'll help anywhere I can. But that's enough from me this morning. I'm going to check out.
Tell them to watch the Adam Buxton podcast.
Yes, thank you. My wife has just reminded me that I was going to tell you all to listen to the Adam Buxton podcast. I know that I bore my poor classes senseless with podcasts from time to time. I will link off to the Adam Buxton podcast. He's talking to Xander Van Something, who is one of those doctors, one of the twin doctors. It's very, very interesting. It's an interesting take on the crisis system which we're in, and it has a very funny joke about memos. So anyway, I'm going to stop there, definitely this time. Thank you all for listening, and remember, this too shall pass, and that's Floyd out. All the very best. Bye for now.